Ever wondered how Rome went from republic to empire? Welcome to Class Bites. Today, we're diving into the complex unraveling of Roman governance that led to its dramatic transformation. The transformation of the Roman Republic into an empire was not a single event, but a long and complex unraveling of a political system overwhelmed by its own success. For centuries, the Republic had been guided by an unwritten constitution, a delicate balance of democratic, aristocratic, and monarchical elements designed to prevent any one individual from accumulating too much power. Authority was divided among annually elected magistrates, with the Senate serving as the state's guiding council. This model, conceived for a city-state, began to fracture under the immense administrative and military pressures of governing a vast and expanding territory. By the final century before the Common Era, the foundations of this old order were crumbling, giving way to an era dominated by powerful dynasts who used personal wealth and military might to bypass traditional constraints. The very instrument of Rome's expansion, its army, became the primary catalyst for the Republic's fall. A gradual but pivotal series of military reforms opened recruitment to the landless poor, creating a new class of professional soldiers. Unlike the citizen farmers of old who had land to return to, these men depended entirely on their commanding general for their livelihood, retirement benefits, and post-service land grants. Consequently, the allegiance of the legion shifted from the abstract authority of the Senate and people of Rome to the charismatic commanders who led them to victory and promised them rewards. The army was no longer a state institution, but a political tool, enabling ambitious generals to intimidate their rivals, coerce the Senate, and ultimately wage war against one another for control of the Republic itself. An early attempt to reverse this trend came when the dictator Sulla, after seizing power with his own loyal army, tried to restore the Senate's supremacy. He curtailed the powers of the popular tribunes and filled the Senate's ranks with his supporters, but his reforms were built on a fatal contradiction. He used autocratic military force to legislate a return to traditional government, setting a dangerous precedent that his successors would readily emulate. This new reality of personalized power found its expression in the formation of triumvirates, which marked the formalization of autocracy. The first of these was an informal secret pact between three of the state's most powerful men, Julius Caesar, Pompey, and Crassus, who pooled their influence to dominate politics and override senatorial opposition. Their alliance was a private arrangement to control the state, but it demonstrated that the Republic's institutions could be subverted by a union of military and political might. A generation later, the second triumvirate was established, not as a secret pact, but as a formal, legally constituted body. A law granted Octavian, Mark Antony, and Lepidus sweeping authority to rule as a committee of three, empowering them to make laws, appoint officials, and pronounce judgments without appeal. They were, in effect, dictators who divided the Roman world among themselves, institutionalizing the very concentration of power the Republic was designed to prevent. Their rule was inaugurated with a brutal series of prescriptions, a political purge that eliminated hundreds of senators and thousands of equestrians, silencing opposition and seizing wealth to fund their armies. The final steps towards one-man rule were taken by two figures who defined the era. Julius Caesar, after emerging victorious from a devastating civil war, consolidated his authority through the office of dictator, eventually having himself named dictator for life. This unprecedented move, a clear and permanent break with Republican tradition, was perceived as a step toward monarchy and directly led to his assassination by a group of senators desperate to restore the old ways. His heir, Octavian, learned a crucial lesson from this. After defeating his last rivals in a final massive conflict at Actium, he masterfully engineered a system that preserved the facade of the Republic while concentrating ultimate power in his hands. This new order, known as the Principate, was established through two constitutional settlements. In the first, Octavian made a grand gesture of returning his powers to the Senate, which in gratitude bestowed upon him the honorific title of Augustus and granted him control over the key provinces where the majority of Rome's legions were stationed. A few years later, in a second settlement, he was granted two fundamental powers for life. The first was tribunician power, which gave him the authority to propose legislation into any magistrate and make his person sacrosanct. The second was a greater proconsular imperium, which gave him command authority over all of Rome's armies, superior to that of any other governor. With these tools, combined with his immense personal wealth and authority, Augustus could direct the state without holding a formal monarchical title. The Senate still met, elections were still held, and consuls were still appointed, but the substance of power resided with one man. The end of a century of internal strife ushered in a period of unprecedented peace and stability known as the Pax Romana, which would last for approximately 200 years. Augustus secured the empire's morites, cleared the seas of pirates, and introduced a common currency that facilitated a massive expansion of trade and economic prosperity. He reorganized the administration of the provinces, creating a professional civil service and a fair system of taxation to govern the empire's estimated 75 million inhabitants more efficiently. He famously claimed to have found Rome a city of brick and left it a city of marble, sponsoring a golden age of literature and architecture. A new ideology also took root, centered on the imperial cult, which linked the emperor's authority to the divine and served as a unifying force across a diverse multi-ethnic empire. The Republic, born from the overthrow of a king, had died not in a single decisive blow, but through a gradual erosion, replaced by a stable, autocratic system that would endure for centuries and set the precedent for empires to come. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment with your thoughts or future video ideas.